What's up guys, Shane O'Mac back again for Reef Lounge TV. Today we're going to talk about Bubble Tip Anemones. BTAs are the most commonly kept anemones in the hobby, probably because they tend to be the most easy to care for over time. In the wild, you're generally going to see them in shades of green or brown. Every once in a while, you'll see kind of more of a reddish color. When those first came into the hobby, we called them rose bubble tip anemones. This one you see here is an even rarer strain called a Colorado sunburst bubble tip anemone, and this one's more in its red phase. This one you see here is actually a wild import that we brought in that doesn't have a trade name, but it's kind of more of a lemon drop type. Rare strains like sunburst, lemon drops, Shermans, and whatnot have been cultured in the hobby for many years now and have kind of become available throughout the country and other countries as well. In the wild, it's very, very rare to find super exotic strains like this. Luckily, we've had a lot of success propagating these in captivity. Anemones will actually split on their own and kind of just replicate themselves and make little clones. An interesting thing about anemones is some people think that they tend to split when they're really happy. Other people tend to think that they split, when they're under environmental stressors or things like that. One of the interesting things about anemones is just how much we don't know about them. For example, bubble tip anemones can have, as the name insinuates, bubbly tips like this Colorado sunburst you can see here. This is a small 2 or 3 inch clone with very bubbly tips. But they can also get completely long tips with long tentacles with no bubbles and look almost more like a long tentacle anemone. We really don't know if it's lighting, flow, or other conditions that determine the way the anemone presents itself. Just one of the interesting things about bubble tips. One thing I love about anemones in general is the symbiotic relationships that you can have. You just saw a sexy shrimp there, which makes its home in a bubble tip anemone. Obviously, everybody knows about the clownfish relationship. The clownfish kind of uses the anemone as a home. It uses it for protection, being that other predators are not going to want to go into the anemone to go after the clownfish. In return, the clownfish will bring food to the anemone, and it's very much a two-way relationship where both animals benefit. And it's one of the most interesting things that you can watch in your aquarium, in my opinion. When it comes to getting your first bubble tip anemone, you're definitely going to want to pick a healthy specimen to start. In my opinion, the two most important factors when it comes to health are color and appearance, but more so stickiness. A very healthy anemone should be very sticky. That stickiness is going to enable it to capture and eat food particles that pass by. As far as feeding anemones, I recommend you feed it something meaty like shrimp, something like that. Once a week, twice a week if you want to. If you have an anemone that is in poor health, you're trying to nurse it back to its glory, you can actually feed it quite a bit more. I had one a couple of months ago that I started feeding 3-4 times a week because it was struggling, and within a month or two, it really made a significant rebound. Like I said, anemones are one of the greatest creatures that you can keep in the hobby. There are a couple things that you want to watch out for. Mainly, they have that foot, and they actually have the ability to move around the tank on their own. So it's one thing you want to keep an eye on when you first put one in your tank. It may move around a little bit until it finds somewhere that it's really happy. The other thing is, if you have an anemone that's going downhill, you want to keep a really close eye on it, because if it does die in the tank, it will very quickly foul up the water. So if you have one that's on its way out, I recommend to remove it and isolate it. That way, if it does pass, it's not going to nuke everything else in your tank. Other than that, that pretty much does it for anemone care. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to leave them down there in the comments, and let me know what species you would like us to focus on in the next video. Thanks for watching.